Hey girl, welcome to the Feminine Founder Podcast, where we are all about learning and growing professionally so that we can build a life that we are proud of and really love. My name is Caroline, and I'm a LinkedIn expert obsessed with teaching female entrepreneurs how to start, grow, and scale their personal brand and business on LinkedIn. This podcast is all about sharing our stories and learning from each other on how to navigate our professional journey so that we can live our best lives. So if you are just starting out on your entrepreneurial journey, or you're growing and scaling an epic company, you are in the right place, friends. Today, I have Mara Smith with me. Mara is the former attorney in Chicago. She's the founder and CEO of Inspiro Tequila. So welcome, Mara.
Hi, so nice to be here.
So I want to hear your story behind starting Inspiro Tequila.
Yes, like how in the world did I get into this? Yes, I started my career as a lawyer at a large law firm, a former attorney. Then I worked in corporate strategy at a Fortune 500 company. And then my most recent job was as a stay-at-home mom. So I was home raising children for over 16 years. My corporate career came to a screeching halt when I became pregnant with my oldest, who are twins, and I was put on emergency bed rest for 3.5 months, and then I had preemie twins. So I made the decision to leave the workforce. Very fortunate I had that option, but nothing I ever foresaw. And so I ended up being home and becoming CEO of my home before starting a tequila company. And it's not because they drove me to drinking, but I do have 3 kids. But and really, I'm like just a consumer product, like super consumer. Food and beverage. I love taste testing everything. So I knew I was going to start a company. I knew it was going to be in food and beverage. And the reason it became tequila is because tequila is my drink of choice. We talked briefly, and that is also seems to be your one of your drinks of choice. So what I discovered is a lot of women actually enjoy tequila. But I didn't think brands were doing a really good job speaking to this consumer directly in tequila. I think she's generally overlooked. And the other thing was that I wanted to create a clean alternative. I discovered that everything I was drinking, all the brands that I knew of and was familiar with, all the big brands, celebrity brands, I didn't know that they used additives in their production process. I didn't know there were things like sweeteners and glycerin and coloring. I thought I was drinking something that kind of, as far as, alcoholic beverages go, that was like a little better for me. And when I discovered that, I thought, okay, well, I really want something additive free, but I still want it to be really approachable and speak to me as the consumer. So just like an easy sipping tequila, sweeter tasting notes, but was there a way to get that and develop that, but without adding sweeteners to get that?
So you're not connected on community in the beginning when we first started talking about doing this. And I know that you're huge on that with Inspiro. You have Anna Maria on your team. You have women leaders. They're doing all different types of jobs within your company. Why is that so important to you?
Well, there's so many levels, of which is a great question. There's so many levels of which community is very important to me. And starting from like the foundation of like building this brand. So if I was going to speak to this consumer, I wanted to speak to her authentically. So not just coming just from me or just like this one figurehead, but actually come at her authentically with a female perspective. So for me, it was important that everyone involved in every aspect of the business, that we can have an all women, led team. So we're led by women. We also have a legendary female master distiller create our taste profile. So that to me just rang more authentic than when you have kind of like a boardroom full of white middle-aged men knocking their heads together. Like, what do women like? I think they like, bright pink bottles or sweet flavors. And then they put some like woman just out in front and said like, oh, look, it's like this, woman-owned brand. So I really wanted, that was the first part. The second piece of community is for me, building a company, as you know, very difficult. Being an entrepreneur, really lonely. And I did, a ton of research, so much due diligence. There's so much, I could learn on my own, but I really think it was vital to have a supportive, engaged community. So building a community of other female founders and leaders to help me, to share resources, to provide guidance, feedback, that is really essential. And I learned the most, honestly, from other founders. We, again, talked about this, briefly, like, oh, another woman who has, alcohol beverage company. Like, that's who I learned the most from. That's who we can, like, just share information and help each other out. So that piece of it was really significant to me. And we can get into like kind of how I did that and built and found people, but making sure that I felt like I had people behind me and that I could bounce ideas off of. Really important. And then when I look at communities in the next level for us, it's, we're not only certified woman owned, but we're certified B Corp. And we are that because of our social impact efforts and to elevate women in business in general. And so I look at it as like not just me building community, but also how can we pay it forward and try and like elevate women in business as part of our, our brand ethos and the Inspiro community. So partnering with women-owned brands, doing events with women's organizations, and then giving back. So we provide grants and mentoring to other female founders. So it's really like a kind of full circle for us as far as like, creating the support and then hopefully giving support.
I love that. I think the giving back part is so huge. I think if you lead with that and start with that, you get it back in tenfold. And not even to expect anything back, but just the ripple effect is insane.
Totally. And it's all those little things we can do. So I talk about grants and I can mentor, but like there's so many little things you can do to support and give back that don't require much. It doesn't require a lot of money. It doesn't require that's hopefully what I try and exemplify is it's making that connection for someone. Like it's meeting another woman who you want to help support and making the connection. It's like gifting woman owned. It's buying woman owned. It's like, referring, I refer an agency or another, woman owned vendor. There are all these like little things. It's just simple as answering the message. Someone sends you a LinkedIn message and you take the time to answer it, or, someone sends an email. A woman just reached out to me through our info at Inspiro address and said, I know you're really busy, but I'm starting, a ready to drink company. I'd love if I could talk to you, but I understand if you don't have time. And my response was, no founder has any time, but I make the time to speak to another woman getting started if I can provide some guidance or feedback. I also am very direct with my feedback. She might not love my feedback, but that's the bottom line is no one has any time, but you make time because that's how we can all like lift each other up and help.
That leads to my next question. So if someone's listening to this podcast right now and they're thinking, okay, I'd love to start a community, but don't even know where to begin. Do you think that you find your community or your community finds you?
I think both. I think you start by, it has to be outbound. I kind of used to tell my kids when they were little, like, that they have to take the first step. So, right, I'd use an example of like a job, like no one comes to like knock on your door and ask you, to come work for them. Like you got to like make those outbound efforts. So there were a couple of things I did. One, I started by like joining certain networks. And so actually the person whoever wins our Community Connections grant every year, it's just some funding to help join certain organizations and networks. And I usually mentor them around that, which are ones that are really applicable to your industry or outside of your industry, but you can like learn from them. So it may not be specifically in yours, but maybe it's just a great women's network, women's organization. So I always start with that. I started with like finding some groups and organizations that I could like learn from. Some are good because they have a lot of educational resources. Some are good because they have member meetups, like figuring out the ones that are right for you. It might be your, local, a local chapter or something. So that's what I started with, like finding certain groups, networks, organizations to join. Then I would hear people's stories or hear them on a podcast like this. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to them on double speed to get through more podcasts. So I would hear people's stories and something would resonate, or I would find a founder because I'm following them on LinkedIn. And then I would do thoughtful outreach. I've never sent a message to anyone saying, "Can I pick your brain?" ever. I will say, "I heard you say this on the podcast. I really was interested in this, piece of your marketing strategy. I would love to know how you develop that. And can we set up a time, can we connect?" So coming in, knowing that you did some like research and background and with a thoughtful, I think, some kind of thoughtful outreach is always helpful. And then if you think about it, talk about making a referral or connecting someone. Everyone has another person to connect you with. And the key there is following up on all those connections. So everybody you talk to has another person for you to talk to, or another 3 people for you to talk to, and then they have more people. So for me, it's like tracking that, keeping track of the people that I meet with and following up. And that's where I think a lot of people probably like stop. They make that first intro and then they don't do the follow-up piece of it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I agree with you with the purposeful messaging because, I mean, you probably get plenty like me every single day. And the ones that spam me or just want to come at me and pick my brain or have my time or whatever, that's plentiful. But the ones who are intentional with their messaging are the ones I actually send a Calendly to and want to meet with.
Right. And if they seem like they know about you and your business, right? Like I come in, I probably look a little stalkerish. I'll know I know where you vacationed. I've been tracking your Instagram. I know how many kids you have. So like.
Okay, I'm literally the same way. So as we wrap up today, how can our listeners find you?
Yes. So first of all, we talked about connecting. So definitely find me on LinkedIn. I'm a big LinkedIn fan. So Mara Smith, Mara Smith on LinkedIn. Follow Inspiro Tequila on Inspiro Tequila, Inspiro Tequila. And online, our website is www.inspirotequila.com. So yes, feel free to follow us and reach out because I do answer those LinkedIn messages.
Thanks, Mara.
Thank you.